Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of She Stays Wet with your girl, Joanna Divine. Hi, and we're going to talk about a bunch of amazing things today. But before we do, I just want to thank you for your continued love and support. And if you like what you see and you like what you're about to hear, please, please, please click subscribe, like, and share the videos. Okay, so I've been looking online, watching a lot of videos about the new trans trend and about the new non-binary thing and the new A thing and B thing and all of this thing and all of the alphabet people and the umbrella and everything, all of that stuff. And it leaves me feeling like my story is still a story that is valid and that needs to be heard. Um, I'm going to try to condense it to as short as possible, but I also want to elaborate on some things, what I believe to be true for me. This is my story. I may or may not agree with a lot of different movements in the world. It is not for me to decide what is real, what is not, what is, what isn't, what is trans, what is not trans. That is not for me to decide. I know my journey worked for me. So let's take you back to when I was like 5 years old, 4 or 5 years old. I can remember my first dreams of walking down the aisle in a white wedding dress. It wasn't a sexual dream. It was just a dream. I can still remember it vividly. I was wearing a white dress, going down to marry this white man. His name was Bo from the Dukes of Hazzard. That's what I knew. I didn't know what it meant to be a boy. I didn't know what it meant to be a girl. I just was me. I remember being in the mirror, wanting long hair, taking a towel, wrapping it around my head, acting like I was singing. I would get a microphone and just be the most feminine thing. There are pictures of me when I would find my mother's wigs, when I would find her shoes. I wanted to walk in her shoes and I wanted to wear her hair. Like I'm talking about like little. But I digress. I didn't know what it was to be one or the other. I was just me. As I grew up, I began to understand, oh, this is where I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be playing with those, but I want to be over here doing double dutch, which I did. When the boys would play football or whatever, I was over with the girls having conversations because it was normal to me. It wasn't gay, straight, trans, male, female. It was just I gravitated to where I belonged. And no one ever really made me feel other than. Yeah, every once in a while I would get catcalled or whatever, but the real trauma was at home. It was never with my friends. It was always like at home. Yes, there was a trauma with my friends when I was older in California. I think it was in like 6th or 7th grade. And a lot of people were coming up to me. This is after we had left my father. Now, let's just put it out there. I was traumatized by religion because I felt as though my father would chastise me or be violent with me because he knew who I was. And rather than embrace me for it, he tried to quote unquote beat it out of me. So his violence always had that justification attached to it. But then when I was in like 7th and 8th grade, when we had left him and moved to California, I can remember vividly this boy coming up to me and asking me if I was a boy or a girl. And that was the whole rumor through the school because I was so androgynous, people could not tell like what I was. I had the typical quote unquote boy haircut, whatever that is, but I walk like a girl. I look like a girl. I look just like my mother. I had a high voice, and I just was who I was. And I remember in seventh or eighth grade, I was playing with the kids outside one day, and they all gathered around me and was like, "Do you have boy parts or girl parts?" And they tackled me down and took off my pants and saw, my genitalia. And then that was very traumatic. Very traumatic because I could just remember wanting to tell someone, but like, who would I tell? There was nobody to tell. What do you say? I don't think I've ever really told anybody that until now. I probably have shared it with some people, but not like this. So when puberty hit, things got even worse because my grandmother and uncle had passed away. And I was riddled with sadness and depression, like really, really bad. But I was also going through these changes that I didn't understand. My body was changing. My chest, like my nipples were like hurting. And I wasn't getting like a deeper voice. I wasn't turning into this person that I thought I was going to be. I was actually getting more feminine. And my body was even more awkward because I was growing and I was getting like lanky and skinny and like tall and like weird looking. And I had like a recessed chin and I just looked like some kind of freak. I didn't look like a boy or a girl. And I'm so sick of people like saying, "Oh, but you were so handsome. You were this, you were that." Okay, in your eyes. But in reality, I never grew into what a typical, whatever that is, a typical male form should be. And there's a reason for that. I had a hormonal imbalance and things were going on in me that I didn't understand, so I didn't talk about. And rather than talking about them, I hid them and I was living this life of shame. I was trying to be somebody that I wasn't. And, it got to a point where I just couldn't hide it anymore. So fast forward, I had started doing drag. I had started changing and experimenting with my looks. And I was trying to figure out who I was. At 30, I finally got online and I was like, I can't take this shit anymore. That's when the internet started like really kind of growing, and there was MySpace, I think. And I found this website and they sold female hormones and I could buy them from Asia. And it was a pill called Premarin. And I had started using female hormones. Well, I was working for MAC Cosmetics at that time. It was 2006. And I had started presenting as female. And my breasts grew even more. My body started to change. And my family found out about it. And they made me feel like it was a choice of either choosing them or choosing me. And at that time, after losing my grandmother, my uncle, my aunt, like so many people had died around me, and I was afraid of being alone. And I didn't want to live this life alone if I had to live this life at all. So I had convinced them that I gave up the idea of becoming who I was supposed to be, even though it was some of the happiest times in my life. It was some of the scariest times in my life because you think about it, it was 2007 then. So it was a totally different time, but I was bold. I was brave and I was doing what I needed to do for me. But I gave up on my dreams of being me because of them. So imagine when you put yourself through hormonal treatment on your own, not even getting it from a doctor. Imagine you're doing it on your own, and then you stop doing it on your own, what that's going to do to your mental health and your body. My body was never the same. My body had crossed a threshold that it could never come back to. Then more binding of my breasts, like hiding my breasts, being more uncomfortable, being naked around people, being more uncomfortable in my own skin. My mental health just started to spiral. And for years, I used narcotics to kind of numb me. And it got to a point where I had tried to take my own life twice because I just couldn't do it anymore. And I had made a decision in 2016 that screw anyone who doesn't like it, but I have to be me. The journey for my body and my mind was easy, but the journey for my family was hard because they knew that this time I was not playing around. Like I couldn't do that anymore, and I couldn't live for them anymore, and I had to live for me now. And I think that that was a selfish act in their eyes, and rather than being happy for me, they shunned me. And I don't I don't blame them because they didn't understand what it meant to be me. I didn't understand what it was going to look like. I had no idea what my life was going to look like. All I knew was that most women in my journey didn't live too long, and I was prepared for that. I was prepared to not be here for too long, but because I thought to myself, I said, I'd rather die happy than live miserably. And lo and behold, to me, the whole world opened up to me and became more accepting of me than I was of me. And the world accepted me before I accepted me, which is crazy. Um, the world invited me to places that I didn't even think I belonged. The world took me around the world, literally. I put in a lot of work, and I'm still putting in a lot of work. I'm a work in progress, but to be on camera with absolutely no makeup on and not be ashamed or afraid. Yes, I'm afraid. I'm always afraid of what people think. It's just a part of like who I am. But I'm getting to a place that I just don't give a damn anymore. Like I can't, hide who I am. I can't change who I am anymore. Finding out about my intersexness this late in life, I feel shafted. I feel like I wish my family had the wherewithal to be able to put me in some kind of therapy or to figure out my hormonal imbalance so that I could have transitioned earlier rather than later. But like I've talked about before, like if I had a transition earlier in life, I may not be here. I'm still, struggling to figure out who I am and what type of person I want to be in this world. But I'm figuring it out as I go. And I have my family, my chosen family, my blood family, my new family, my work family. Like I have all of these people around me, rallying around me, telling me that I'm enough. And in order for me to believe it's just hard. It's hard. It's a very isolating life, but it's only because I isolate myself and not people don't want to be around me. Yes, I have lost a lot of friends. I've lost a lot of connections with people because I at a point in my life felt as though I was burdening a lot of people, and I didn't want to burden anyone and drag anyone down. So I always thought like being associated with me would like lower their stock. Um, I put myself into the arms of men that did not deserve me. But then I thought like, who would want to be with me anyway? Because these are all internalized transphobic things that I've been taught my entire life, and letting them go is the challenge. That's the struggle. It's like not hearing my father's voice, like, why can't you look like me? Why do you have to look like your mother? Or like, taking me out to play basketball and I couldn't play basketball. I wasn't coordinated like that. And he would make me feel like I was just like shit because I couldn't do a stupid ass layup or like a jump shot or whatever. But that just wasn't me. It just wasn't me. And or like not getting support from my mother when I was doing like show choir or whatever, and I wanted to sing and I wanted to do musical theater and stuff, and not getting supported for just wanting to be myself. Like I always feel like very shafted because I wasn't really allowed to be me in a supportive environment. Like I always think like, what would my life be like if I had been supported? And I'm not angry. I'm not bitter because I'm so full of love and so full of empathy. But I feel shafted. Like I look at these other trans people now who are just living out loud and you're going to love me no matter what and stuff, and just putting it out there. And a lot of times, like, I feel like that's a very selfish way to live when you're throwing it into people's face, because like a real person who just wants to live their life doesn't want to throw it in everyone's face. Like, yeah, I have my YouTube channel, but I'm not throwing it in everyone's face. I'm not forcing it or jamming it down people's throats. Like, I don't know. It's just this new generation is not patient. They don't, like, when I transitioned, I went into like a cocoon. I separated myself from so many people, wanted to do it on my own, and I wanted to emerge as someone new. And I feel like these people are getting away with like telling people, if you don't accept me, then screw you and stuff. I couldn't say stuff like that. I wouldn't say stuff like that. Like that just wasn't in my vernacular. But I don't know. It's like people don't want to be patient. They don't want to wait around. They want everything now, 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 now. It took me years to come to terms with who I am. It'll take me more years to even be as comfortable as I want to be in my own skin. Yeah, I'm comfortable now, but god damn it. Ooh, it's a day-to-day thing. It really is, because there's some days that I am and some days that I'm not. And on the days that I'm not, I have to learn to be patient with myself and patient with others. And on days that I am, I put myself out there and I, face the world, but I don't jam it down anyone's throat. I'm not loud. I'm not boisterous. I'm not catering and trying to gather up children and, I don't know. It's just a very confusing time to be a person in this world, because everything is so problematic and everything is so in your face. And it's like, we're not allowed to have opinions anymore. We're not allowed to disagree anymore. Like I remember a time where you could disagree with someone and it was okay. You could still be friends. Now, if you disagree with someone, like you got to disown them. And I don't understand that. And I really don't understand this whole new generation about, wearing makeup and like hairy chests and saying that they're a woman, and or having big old titties and a wig on and saying that you're a man, or like, it's just I think when I was younger, things were a little bit more black and white and it was less confusing. And now things are a little bit confusing to people, and that's why like things are getting convoluted and kind of all mixed up, where drag queens are getting put under the trans umbrella and trans folks are getting put under the non-binary thing, and all of this thing is getting very convoluted. And it would make me very fearful of having my child like watch certain television shows or whatever, because it's very confusing. It's just really, really confusing. And there's certain people that I shouldn't agree with that I do. Um, and there's certain people that I should agree with that I don't. But I keep those opinions to myself. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody got one. And I have plenty. But you know, who am I? I'm just Joanna Divine. So this is me. This is who I am. Imperfect, imperfectly perfect, perfect for you. I thank you guys for loving me. I thank you guys for listening to me. Um, this whole this whole me journey is not easy. It's not easy, but we're doing the best we can. So I wish the world a wonderful future. I wish the world a bright future. I want to be a part of it. I want to see it. And I hope that the younger generation can look to me and say, if she did it, then I can do it. I may not be doing it perfectly. I may be a work in progress, but at least I'm doing it. I'm living my life the best way I know how. I love you guys. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.